Good luck.
Hello and welcome to our event. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for joining on time. And thanks in advance to the team at Microsoft and my team for working on what we've put together. I'm super excited to host this event and I can't wait to show you what we've put together. I hope that you like what we've done. So my name is Tony Brooks. I've been 25 years in IT, 17 years in legal IT and 10 years running my own business. As well as all the business stuff and leading a team, I've been fortunate enough to keep technical. First with integration, through a suite called Intap with law firms. I've helped over 25 law firms implement an integration platform into their firm. In migration, I've helped firms move from an on-premise document management to the cloud with NetDocuments. And now, over the last year, I've been investigating and working in the automation space. And I'm really excited with what Microsoft have done over the last few months, and that's why we're having this event today. Enough about me. What about you? There were about 150, we just reached 150 today, registrations for this event, which is absolutely mind-blowing, and it shows just how much interest there is in this topic. And a quick scan and a very rough analysis of who's who shows that we're around 60-40 IT and not IT, which poses a bit of a challenge for us. How technical do we go? So we've decided to go quite bird's eye view, and we're going to go at a high level, but we are going to get a little bit technical along the way, but not too much. So think of it as being the art of the possible mixed with a little bit of under the hood. Please post questions in the chat, in the Q&A. There's a Q&A box in this event. Please post any questions you have in there. Now, disclaimer, we have so much to cover today that I don't think we're going to actually answer them on the spot today. But what we will do is we will post all the answers into the LinkedIn group. And for those of you that didn't sign up via LinkedIn, we will email you 2 emails, one with all the links that we're posting today and one with answers to all the Q&As that we collate over the course of this event. So I think that's housekeeping done. So let's crack on. 2020, what a year. During this year, World Economic Forum did their Future of Jobs report, which is a report they do every couple of years. And this year was quite different because of obviously the pandemic. And they asked, what is COVID doing to companies? And the people that respond to, the companies that respond to the survey are the top 300, like the top 300 enterprises, over 7 million people under employment. And the respondents said that 50% are accelerating their automation journey. Only 50%, I was shocked at how low that is. And when you go further down the enterprise scale to small, medium business, this is actually lower. Automation still hasn't penetrated any meaningful way. Technology is there, so why is this? I think there are 3 reasons. There's confusion in the marketplace. Don't know what it does, don't know what's out there, and there's too many vendors. Who has time to compare everything? There's a sense of skepticism that this is peak hype cycle and it doesn't actually apply. And there's a sense of exclusion that it's too expensive, too complex, it needs too much stuff to actually get going. So our job over the next 45 minutes is to turn that confusion into clarity. It's to turn the skepticism into a path to return on investment. And it's to turn that sense of exclusion into a sense of urgency to act. How are we going to do this? So in a moment, we're going to show you a full demonstration of, or a full explanation of Power Automate, what it can do, the business value of it, and show you a little bit under the hood as well. We're then going to pave the path to ROI with case studies, use cases, and this concept of priority matrix, which lets you map out your journey to getting value from investing in RPA or automation in general. And finally, for action, we've actually got some late breaking news that broke earlier today from Microsoft headquarters, which is really exciting. So we're going to go through that later on, and then pricing and next steps. Without further ado, I'm going to hand over to my colleague from Microsoft. Please welcome Nikos Marinakis.
Thank you very much, Tony, for the introduction, and big thanks to all of you who have joined us today for this webinar. We're super excited to share this content with you today. So, of a quick introduction, my name is Nikos Marinakis. I joined Microsoft quite recently, a few months ago, following an acquisition that happened. I was in Softomotive before, which was one of the leading and pioneer RPA vendors. So back to automotive days, it was a long journey. Started in 2015 in Athens, Greece, where the company was initially headquartered. I was lucky enough to experience all phases of automotive's fast growth from various sales roles, and I ended up being the vice president of sales for emerging markets with a special focus on Asia Pacific. So after the acquisition took place, I'm now serving as a global black belt sales specialist for Power Automate and RPA for Asia and Australia, New Zealand time zone. So as I mentioned before, Microsoft acquired Softomotive back to May 2020. We announced this through our CEO Satya Nadella announced the acquisition in a build event during the build event. Softomotive used to be one of the pioneer RPA vendors. We were 15 years in this business, in the automation software business, and we had around 9,000 customers worldwide. And the important thing here is that those customers were spanning across very small companies, even individual users, up to very big enterprise companies from all industry verticals. And why this was happening is the fact that our solutions were widely recognized as the easiest to use in the RPA space. So if you see here on this graph, this is a snapshot from the G2 Crowd software G2 Crowd platform, where end users are rating software of different categories. So if you browse the RPA category, you would find that our Win Automation RPA tool was consistently ranked as the easiest to use RPA tool for quite a few years. And it is a tool which was launched back to 2008. So it holds a 12-year-old history, very feature-rich and very robust. And as I mentioned, the beauty of our solution, apart from features which were of course there, was that it was totally drag and drop and no code interface for business users to create their own automations without any issues. And after the acquisition, we have a couple of important milestones that happened. The first one came back to July, where Gartner is rating Microsoft as #1 in completeness of vision in its latest RPA Magic Quadrant. And this is pretty impressive if you consider that this report was launched just a couple of months after Softomotive's acquisition, and it clearly shows where we're heading at. And the next big milestone happened back to September 2020 when we launched in our Ignite event, we launched Power Automate Desktop, which is the first integrated version of Softomotive's RPA assets into the whole RPA platform. And this is a really big thing where, if you consider that it happened so fast, and just stay tuned that, as Tony mentioned in his introduction, we will announce something really exciting by the end of this webinar. So let's take a look on how Power Automate works and why we feel that it can bring so much of value in your organization. So for us here at Microsoft, the first important thing that you can consider is that automation and RPA is not an isolated island. It is, on the contrary, it's part of a very broad ecosystem of tools and solutions, overall named Power Platform. So you have at your disposal Power Apps, Power BI, and Power Virtual Agents together with Power Automate, which enable you to build your own custom apps on your mobile phones or your browser. You can have access to analytics and insights through Power BI, and last but not least, you can build and leverage your own chatbots using conversational AI technologies with Power Virtual Agents as part of your automations. All of this technology comes together with a big set of data connectors, which allow you to connect systems seamlessly. AI Builder for you to get to leverage some artificial intelligence within your automations. Microsoft Dataverse, which is a service built on top of Azure, where you can build your custom data sets. And the very important thing is that all this Power Platform technology is spanning across the three pillars of Microsoft, like Office 365, Azure, and Dynamics there. So Power Platform is experiencing a very big growth as we speak. It's a huge customer momentum there, and which was actually increased due to the pandemic, because organizations need those low-code, no-code solutions which will enable their employees to be more efficient. You see that we have, in a very short time, we have managed to get customers from pretty much every industry vertical and every size. And here is the important thing that with Power Platform and with our automation solutions, we would like to empower everyone to build and automate their own tasks and processes. And this vision was very much in line with the Softomotive acquisition, as Softomotive was providing the easiest to use RPA solutions. So we want to enable the citizen developers or the business users to automate their own tasks and drive this organic adoption within the organizations, which is the best way to leverage the benefits of automation. At the same time, our solutions include all those reusable components and more complex stuff, which will enable the professional developers to automate the more complex scenarios, and at the same time enable the citizen developers that help them. And of course, on the IT admin standpoint, Power Platform, Power Automate is built on top of Azure, which is the most secure and compliant platform in the world. And this by itself is ensuring overall governance and compliance across the ecosystem. So now we're going to explain a little bit of terminology. So we would like to clarify a little bit terms and make it a little bit more easy for you to grasp. So we have, as our Power Automate is mainly consisting of three pillars of technology. So the first one is robotic process automation, or RPA. And what is RPA? Very easily for you to understand is it's a technology that mimics the human actions in front of a computer user interface and enables you to automate repetitive, mundane, and rules-based process on your desktop. So basically what we are doing with RPA, we are mimicking the human actions in front of the computer system, and we replicate those in order to build an automation. This is helping us to automate legacy software which don't have APIs. So imagine a green screen, for example, an AS400, which is a 20-year-old system which is still residing in your ecosystem. This system would never have an API, therefore you can leverage RPA to automate the system. The second pillar, which is kind of the opposite one, is digital process automation, or DPA, which basically enables you to automate through APIs, through native connectors. So here what we are doing, we do not need to interact through the user interface, but we are leveraging the pre-built connectors. We have more than 400, and here we are far ahead on that space. And leveraging through connectors, we can automate those processes on the cloud without the need to go down to the desktop and automate through the user interface. And the third pillar is the need for AI, for artificial intelligence, which is some more complex stuff. So some tasks or processes which need some artificial intelligence to be automated. So here we can leverage tools in order to build, train, and publish AI models without writing code. Some examples include form processing. So for example, if you want to extract some fields from an invoice or from a scanned document, and then you want to use those fields in order to proceed your automation. So for that, we have specific tools, and we also have AI-driven chatbots, which is the other pillar of artificial intelligence that you can use and leverage conversational AI technologies to take actions together with Power Automate. And here you see that Power Automate is really enclosing all those three automation technologies in one package, and that's why you can get so much of value through Power Automate as we speak. RPA, GPA, and AI, all of those are there. So when it comes to RPA, as I mentioned before, this is automating mainly legacy software which don't have APIs or some web forms in the browser. This is possible through Power Automate Desktop. As I mentioned in the beginning, Power Automate Desktop is the first version of Softomotive's RPA assets, which are now rebranded and repackaged under the look and feel of Power Automate. So we'll have a unified user experience, and Power Automate Desktop is this component. The second pillar is DPA, where digital process automation, where we can leverage those 400 pre-built API connectors. And this is pretty exciting, the fact that we keep adding connectors day by day, I would say. So a couple of months ago, we had about 370 connectors. Now it's about 420, and we keep adding on a daily basis. And you can leverage these connectors to automate through the Microsoft stack itself, but through external systems if they have connectors. And you see here how we can bridge this gap. Power Automate can be this bridge between the on-prem systems for where you can apply RPA and the more modern systems which have API connectors through the cloud. And the third pillar is artificial intelligence, where you can leverage two main components: AI Builder and Power Virtual Agents. With AI Builder is the tool where you can leverage to build and train your AI models, and the Power Virtual Agent is our conversational AI chatbot component. So let's see a little bit one by one what we can offer on Power Automate Desktop, which is the RPA component. As I mentioned before, it's the evolution of Softomotive's Win Automation. It was launched in public preview back to September during the Ignite event, and it is providing a very rich drag and drop design experience, totally no code, stemming from the easiest to use Win Automation RPA solution. And you can use this to automate legacy systems like NAS 400, terminals, SAP without APIs, some Java applications, etc. You can leverage multiple levels of exception handling to enable automation of complex cases. You have access to detailed run logs and pre-action inputs and outputs. And Power Automate Desktop, as we'll see a little bit later, is available with the RPA attended Power Automate license. And here you see a little bit what you can do with Power Automate Desktop. You can build with a very easy to use editor, scripting interface. And at the same time, we have two types of recorders. We call them web recorder and desktop recorder for automating over the web and over desktop applications, which makes it even easier for a business user, for a citizen developer, to start automating by just clicking, launching those recorders and recording the actions and the clicks. At the same time, you have access to both attended and unattended mode as part of executing your automation. So attended mode means that the automation will run together with the user, together with you at your laptop, and in collaboration with the user, while unattended automation means that your robot, your automation will run in the backend without any user interface, without any user interaction at all. And last but not least, we have all those troubleshooting and debugging components at your disposal, which makes your life much easier in order to identify any errors before they happen. Second pillar, digital process automation through APIs. As I mentioned before, we are far ahead on that space. More than 400 connectors that you can leverage, and you can build your automations over the cloud. So here you see that we span across all Microsoft stack, and also in other external systems like Salesforce or SAP or Oracle that have an API with us. You can use hundreds of triggers to invoke your automation. So A trigger can be a button, for example, you press a button and automation will start, or for example, it can be an email. So you monitor an email account, and if an email arrives in your inbox, then this fires an automation. You have thousands of actions at your disposal to build those flows on the cloud and on-prem. And also, last but not least, you have a wide variety selection of pre-built templates which you can leverage if you want to reuse them for common processes, so you don't need to reinvent the wheel every time that something is pretty much standard and usable. Now, going to the third pillar, artificial intelligence, we have two components here, AI Builder and Power Virtual Agents. Starting from the AI Builder, here you can infuse AI into workflows without any code. So what you can achieve with AI Builder, you can do forms processing. So you can extract fields from a PDF, it can be an invoice, it can be a purchase order, it can be any scanned document, and extract the data, the fields, and then use them for the next steps of your automation. You can read business cards, you can process receipts, you can apply, you can do language detection, category classification, key phrase extraction, even apply sentiment analysis. For example, you can, if you receive an email from a customer, you can read the content, and identify if the person who is writing the content is happy or unhappy. You can use OCR technologies for object detection and image detection, text recognition as well, and you can take some decisions based on predictions. And the other pillar of AI is Power Virtual Agent, which is our conversational AI chatbot, enabling customers and colleagues within their organizations to respond with personalized conversations by using natural language. So here it's a very easy to use and maintain user interface. So you can leverage this a low code interface as well to build your chatbots. And here on the usability perspective, you can engage in natural language conversations and get suggestions on how to improve your bot. And then you can also determine which topics to build next by leveraging AI and data-driven insights. And of course, this functionality is completely extensible with, again, hundreds of pre-built connectors and natively integration with Power Platform, Azure, and Microsoft Teams. And the good thing is, of course, Power Virtual Agent is natively integrated with Power Automate as part of Power Platform. You can train and empower your agents, your virtual agents, to solve common customer and internal facing issues. So when it comes to customer facing applications, you can leverage chatbots in your website, for example, in your mobile applications or in your social media to communicate with your customers. And for internal issues, you can apply chatbots in your teams or in your other chat interface if you have in your organizations, and you can build some easily ready-made FAQ topics like common HR questions or whatever other things. Again, you can leverage hundreds of pre-built connectors to build your workflows together with Power Automate. So Power Virtual Agent can be a part of your automation within Power Automate. And of course, all of these things without any need of being any data scientist or IT developer. Last but not least, this is the last slide for the platform presentation. Very, very important is to understand that Power Automate and Power Platform is natively integrated across the three pillars of Microsoft. So Microsoft 365, Dynamics 365, and Azure. So when it comes to Microsoft 365, we have native connectivity with Microsoft Teams, for example, where you can deliver apps and process to first-line workers. Connectors with SharePoint, so you can very easily collect, manage, and distribute the content using SharePoint and build your flows over Power Automate. When it comes to Dynamics, again, there is native connectivity with Dynamics 365 and all this family of products. And last but not least, Azure. which is the most secure and compliant in the cloud service in the world as we speak. Azure Active Directory is there at your disposal, and the great thing is that you can leverage all this sophistication of Azure, like applications like Logic Apps or Azure API management, which is giving the power to more technical people, to the developer, to the professional developers, to extend the capabilities of Power Automate to do more complex stuff. So with that being said, I will hand over to Tony for the quick demo. Thanks. Tony, I think you're on mute.
Sorry about that. You missed some gold, guys. So thanks, Nikos, for that presentation and for reminding me I'm still on mute. In this demo, we've got two demos, and we're going to show two components in each demo. So this first one, we're going to see AI Builder and the platform. And in the next one, we're going to see Virtual Agent and RPA. So in this demo of the platform, we're going to focus on customer service. And what I want to do is monitor my mailbox. So as people send me email, if the subject line says feedback, now this is live and this works. So please, if you want to send me an email, the subject must have feedback in it, and it's tony@futureability.global. Okay, so this is what happens to emails that come in with feedback. If it's bad feedback, I want to reply straight away to the person and say, really sorry about your experience. I've CC'd my business partner Omkar, and we're going to fix this. And there's a reply that goes back straight away. If it's good feedback, I want to post it in Teams and kudos the team, saying, look, guys, we've got this feedback. Check this out. So the way I'm going to do this, I'm going to use the platform to watch my mailbox using a connector to my Office 365 email on a trigger of new mail coming in and looking for feedback in the subject line. Then pass that over to AI Builder, use a model there that Nikos talked about, the sentiment analysis. And the sentiment analysis will read the contents and it will infer whether it's positive, neutral, or negative sentiment within that text. So obviously, if it's negative, it will go to reply and escalate. If it's positive, we'll post it in Teams with the kudos to the team. So let's have a look at it. So this here is the interface for Power Automate, and you'll see it's part of the Office 365 suite. You do get a limited license Power Automate included, with access to some templates and some connectors. So this is the homepage with the templates. They've got a whole bunch of other templates inside there. These are all cloud-to-cloud flows. They're called flows, and they're connecting data sources together using connectors, and then doing some data flows within those. These are all the connectors that you can have. You'll see that there's lots and lots of these here. I'll talk about those with premium later on. If yours isn't here, you can build your own custom connector. Let's look at AI Builder. This AI Builder is in the same platform. Here it is, accessible to you here. You've got 5 models there that you can train your own models on top of, five feature sets there, or you can use these out of the box one. Sentiment analysis is an out of the box one. So what we do is we pass it some text, it analyzes it and says whether it's positive or negative. So you can send it any text you want. We're going to send it everything is awesome. When I click the button there, eventually when I click the button, you'll see the sentiment there is positive. These come with best practices, so do's and don'ts and all. Really easy to do, really accessible to get into the AI models. So let's look at a flow. Let's look at a flow here. Go into the flow. Here's the flow for this platform one. This is the home page of it. You can see when it ran last and things like that. The run history. I'm going to go and edit this, and you'll see it's a really easy to use interface. Now this is the trigger. When an email arrives, I've connected my mailbox to it. It's looked at my inbox. Subject filter feedback. And then it's going to pass that off to the sentiment analysis. Now notice here it's passing the body of the email. Where did I define that variable of body of the email? I didn't. It just came from that previous action. So here this dynamic content is coming from the previous actions. So I passed that over. Now this switch is a case statement. So the results of the analyzed text, you can see here, these are the results that come back from that analyze sentiment in text, and it will give you a sentiment of the overall text, and the return is either positive, neutral, or negative. So we've got this switch, which is like a case statement over the over that variable that comes back. So positive, if it's positive, post in Teams. Hey, kudos team, just got some great feedback. If it's negative, I'm going to reply to the email and thank you for your feedback. It's important, and I've CC'd my business partner in there as well. This is working now, so if you want to try it out, do so. What I want to do in this one though is positive. I actually want to reply back saying, hey, thanks for the great feedback. So I just clicked add an action. Here's all of those different connectors that you can use, all with actions, all with triggers. So here I'm going and looking at the actions here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose Office 365. Now each connector has a trigger and an action. Here are all the ones that are available for Office 365 Outlook. So we're scrolling up and down to have a look. I'm going to go to reply to email. Now, which email do I want to reply to? There's a message ID that is there. Now remember that dynamic content. So it's not that message ID because that's from the post message in Teams. I want to go down to the when a new email arrives, that message ID. So that the email that triggered this off, that's what's going to be replied to. So now I'm saying, hey, thanks for the cool feedback. And we've passed it on to the team because we have in the previous one there. So I hope that gives a very brief introduction. It's a very brief introduction of the platform. It's super easy to build stuff with. I'm going to rename this to make it readable, so you can rename the actions just to make it readable for people and share these flows. And let's just go in there. Let's rename it. And that's the introduction to the AI part and the platform. Let's have a look at the next demo. This is a virtual agent. This is a robot, a virtual agent. And what we're going to do in this demo, so we've actually built a robot for a client that does email delegations, and it monitors their customer service help desk ticketing system, and any new delegation request that comes in, the robot goes and runs a PowerShell script. It goes onto web pages and does delegation access in things like Blue Jeans, things like that. And it then opens up Windows app for things like interaction and manages the delegation access in there. About 5 or 6 systems in total. So in this, we built them a proof of concept to say, hey, can we do this using a bot? So here you can see that we've got a bot called IT Helper, and it's chatting with a human here, and it's asking the human questions that it needs to do the delegation request. So now it's got all that information. Now it's going to go and fire off in the background on a VM. This is running the Power Automate desktop product in unattended mode that Nikos talked around. You can see all we've done here is opening up, running a PowerShell script. We're going to open up a web app, a web page, and just fill in some fields in the web page. All of this is running without any interaction. If we wasn't watching it, we'd just be doing it in the background. We're going to paste in values here that we got from the human in the chat and close that. And then just for fun, we're going to open up control panel, but if when we eventually build this out for the client, it's going to be the various desktop apps that we've used, and then now the bot's going to report back to the human and say, hey, finished. That's kind of cool. The way that virtual agents is licensed means that you can actually have an IT helper, a HR helper, a finance helper. You can even have a report helper, a helper per person if you wanted to, and we'll talk about that later in the licensing. So there, the bot's finished. You can see the bot's finished there. I'm now going to go to the next slide and just show you the automation that was running on that machine is using Power Automate Desktop. This is Power Automate Desktop. This is the UI for it. Down the left-hand side are all the actions that you can do. It's just drag and drop over into that middle section, which is all of the actions. Super easy to use, pretty easy to pick up. If you can build an Access database or use Excel to an advanced level, you'll pick this up pretty easily. And so they're the 2 demos, and it's a very, very quick introduction. And what I've done is I've shown you 2 demos of just two combinations of those things. Obviously, each of those is super powerful in its own right, but when the different combinations of them, that's where you're going to get exponential value and exponential returns and exponential opportunity for really automating and streamlining a lot of manual processes. So that concludes the first section, the clarity. I'm going to hand over to Nikos again, and he's going to take us through a case study and some horizontal use cases. Nikos, over to you, mate.
Many thanks again, Tony, it was a great demo. So now let's see a little bit how we can where we can apply those automation opportunities. So here in this slide, we can see how we can spot horizontal automation opportunities. So those opportunities are spanning across all industry verticals. So they are pretty much similar across industry verticals. So we're talking about horizontal functions like finance and accounting, for example. So here you see that the invoice processing, payment processing, reconciliations, auditing, tax calculations, order to cash, procure to pay, all those are low-hanging fruits. So very, very common cases where we can apply automation. Now, yeah, we can also apply. Yes. Sorry. Sorry, Tony, can you go back to the previous slide? Yeah. Okay, probably there was a technical glitch before. Apologies for that. So I was talking about the original automation opportunities. So on the finance and accounting, those are the low-hanging fruits. On the procurement field, again, you can spot automation opportunities like vendor onboarding, supplier management, logistics. Going to IT, again, common processes like IT customer support, infrastructure monitoring, automated updates, backup, disaster recovery are pretty common use cases as well. Going to business operations, processes like account opening, customer onboarding, account monitoring, or processing requests. And lastly, another original function, which is a kind of low-hanging fruit for automation, is HR, human resources. So use cases like recruitment, employee data, onboarding, benefits, expense processing, travel scheduling are again kind of low-hanging fruits for automation. And here I'm going to talk a little bit about a case study, a customer that we provide our automation solutions. It was a multinational IT services firm, and this is a pure RPA scenario in the finance department. We talked about the finance use cases in the previous slide, so this is one quite common as well. So what was the problem is that this firm was, as I mentioned, it's a multinational firm, so they are operating a global supply chain unit in 4 different countries across Europe. So what was happening is that there was some intercompany billing with those subsidiaries within each other. So one subsidiary was billing the other, but at the same time they were using ERP systems which could not talk to each other. So this meant that we needed a human who had to double check all those paperwork, the transactions, the POs, and the invoices in order to match them and validate the transactions. And here you can see how our automation solutions helped the organizations when they got applied. So this was an end-to-end very big process, and we managed to automate 60% of the work. And now we have a robot which is actually recording those trade payable invoices at a line level detail. It matches it on the PO and then posts the invoice in. So what we have managed to achieve here is that the customer has reached to a number of 600 invoices and 3 million euros in turnover transactions per month, and this was only the first year of adopting this robot, this automation. Of course, employee satisfaction has risen a lot, and because now employees have much more time to spend for quality analysis and control on financials, and the execution of the process got much faster and the cost went down. And here I'm going to talk a little bit why we were selected. Obviously, this was a big firm and they did a formal RFP to select a vendor. And apart from the feature site analysis, which was there, and of course we were very well positioned, the 2 main pillars which were quite important for us to be selected. First of all, the unparalleled ease of use of our solution compared to other vendors, which led to far lower implementation time. Very, very important pillar. And the second one was the pricing point, much better pricing point compared to other vendors for equivalent or even greater RPA feature set. So they managed to achieve best ROI. They managed to be very successful because they achieved best ROI. And here in this slide, you can see a study that we conducted together with Forrester Consulting back to April this year. It's a total economic impact study where you can download freely and read the study and learn how a business reduce development costs and increase efficiencies by using Power Automate in this study. So you see some impressive numbers here, about 200% ROI over a 3-year period. Then the worker time savings again for a 3-year period is about $1.41 million for applying 50% of productivity capture. And of course, the error reduction was very, very significant, 27.4% reduced errors due to increased in automation. So go ahead and download this study. And that being said, I'm handing over to Tony to talk about the ROI.
Thanks, Nikos. And as the camera comes by, yeah, great. So I saw in the Q&A just while you were talking there that Tyler has posted, I'm a citizen developer and currently trying to convince the business how to embrace the Power Apps suite. How would you best help them realize the benefits of doing this? This might be a section for you to get some tips from. What I'm going to talk about is how do you measure ROI, or how do you convince ROI? Or I was actually chatting to I've been doing Q&A sessions at a conference this week, like, you know, moderating the Q&As for speakers. And one of the speakers was a HR transformation manager, and he had this really great use case of bots, 6 bots in production that took a process from 2 days down to 28 minutes. But he said something like, there's going to be no returns this year, but there'll be returns next year. And I said, how did you persuade the team to do that? And he actually said, well, the team didn't. They came to him with those things. And I think there's a general sense, like Tyler, of this can be automated. These things can be automated. And once you start asking people as IT leaders, can these things be automated? You're going to get a whole heap of use cases coming forward. And how do you think and sort them? How do you analyze and sort them out? So that's what this section's all about. So we look at them through 2 axes, benefit and ease of implementation. Now, benefit has 4 components to it. First, obviously, time and money. How you say time and money are the 2 obvious ones. And then you've got this concept of a gift. And that could be a gift in terms of value to the clients, the better value for clients, or a gift to employees. Is this something that improves morale, or does something internally for, you know, for the employees? Or it's about risk reduction. So you can look at those 4 things on the benefit side with each of the examples, each of the cases that you brought forward. And in terms of ease of implementation, what automation technology does it need? Is it pure DPA? Is it RPA plus DPA? Is it all of them? How many actual systems does it need to touch? Are there connectors for the system? So there's some technical things around the ease, but there's also some human things around the ease. How many teams is this supporting? How many people are going to be affected by the automation? And also, how refined is the process already? And we're going to go through this exercise very briefly with 6 use cases at this firm that I'm going to use as a use case. This is the firm Hamlin & McGill. Does anybody know this one? I'll give you a second to think about this. If you know this one, it'll probably digging out something in the back of your brain there. Where have I heard this firm? So this firm is actually the firm from Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Awesome shows. So it is obviously a made-up firm, but the use case I'm going to talk about, these are ones that I have seen or heard about with clients, or I've worked on them myself. So let's go through some of these. The first one is uploading documents to court. The benefit for HHM, it's small, low impact across the firm. It's 1 team, but it's super easy because it's just watching a folder and then uploading that folder to one website, points and clicks. It's pretty easy to do. The data's kind of well structured. The next one, loan application admin. This is a high profile banking client for HHM, and it's a top 10 client. The bank's got all you can eat policy, all you can eat usage agreement with the law firm. So the benefit to this of increasing the margin on the work, and also reducing errors because it's a high value client, the benefit's really high. And it's easy to do. It's all web automation. There's a well-defined process. It's really easy to do. The next one, contract review. This is using AI Builder to extract entities and clauses from certain types of contract. This is super high benefit. It allows the firm to scale a particular service that they want to scale. However, this isn't easy. You need to train the AI, you need to monitor it. There's a fair amount of work involved in actually doing it and involving the business people during that. So those examples around sort of the practice of law. Let's look at some examples around the business side of law. This is around risk management and closing off practice management, closing off matters when they're complete. The benefit's high. There's a risk management thing here that the firm's super keen to get on top of. All matter partners must sign off that a matter's closed. So they want at the end of the month create a report of all the matters that closed in an Excel spreadsheet, send it to the matter partner, get them to approve yes or no, whether it's closed, and then send that back, and the bot does all the work in the background. So the bot would do all of that process. Technically, it's easy, but from a policy perspective, it's not easy. No, they haven't got a policy, so this one's not easy. IT systems check. This is every morning. A member of the IT help desk team will go and log into each system, check it's up and running, check it's performing okay. They've been doing it for a few years, so it's a well-defined process and it's really easy to do. It's just points and clicks on a VM, really easy to do. The next one is new starter onboarding. This is not easy. It touches a lot of systems. The process is a bit difficult right now. It's high profile. It's just not easy, but the benefit is actually low because, you know, since if you're watching Breaking Bad, then sorry, you're watching Better Call Saul, you know, since Chuck's incident, they're only hiring like 1 or 2 a month, and that's for us insider fans of Better Call Saul. So we've gone through the use cases and we looked at them from benefit and ease in a very simple framework. Now, what happens with that in terms of where the power comes is where you put them on this grid. So we've got low ease to high ease on the horizontal axis and low benefit to high benefit on the vertical axis. Now, when we think of the ones that are difficult and low benefit, then we put those on hold. That new starters one, put that on hold. When we look at the uploading docs to court, that is easy to do, but it's of low benefit. And the common mistake I see is people start here with the ROI journey. They haven't thought about which ones to do proof of concepts with properly, and they start here at the quick wins. High benefit and but complex to do. These are the long-term ones you put in the long-term bucket. Now, the ones that are high benefit and easy to do, these are your proceed nows. And once you've mapped it out like this, if you do this before you do a proof of concept, you've then got your candidates listed for a proof of concept. You choose one to do the proof of concept, and you've got your next steps and everything in the proceed now you do first. And then you can take this to the business and have a meaningful discussion about automation with the business leaders. And this is the start. It's a very, very dangerously looking like an automation strategy. And it's a way of getting going. And we guide clients through this process, and it uncovers a lot of insights for them. And yeah, feel free to use some of that, Tyler, if that helps at all. We are now at the exciting part. I'm going to hand back over to Nikos for some breaking news straight from Microsoft headquarters. Nikos, over to you, mate.
Thank you once again, Tony. Really nice to see about the priority matrix and the use case. So yes, we are very happy to announce those news. This actually came back just morning Seattle time yesterday, so it was actually very early morning for Australia today, which those news came up. So what happens is that we did some exciting announcement, which came in our official website and blog post, etc. And you see here, you will see what this announcement basically consists. So these two main pillars are there in that very exciting announcement. First one is that Power Automate Desktop becomes generally available starting from today, from yesterday Seattle time. So as I mentioned at the beginning of my presentation, we first launched the Power Automate Desktop during the Ignite event back to September. And Power Automate Desktop is the next generation of Softomotive's RPA assets, which are now rebranded and packaged under the look and feel of Power Automate. So now this component is generally available and it is our standard RPA component. And apart from this fact, which is super exciting, we are also introducing some additional RPA capabilities that I'm going to talk in a minute. The second very, very important pillar of the announcement is that we are launching in public preview a component named Process Advisor, which is introducing some process mining capabilities to Power Automate. So process mining is a very highly important feature in the automation landscape. And what we can do is we can get some deeper understanding of the process and how we work. It can help us collaborate with colleagues, and then out of this nurturing activity, we can select which processes are best candidates to go for automation. Here we're seeing a little bit what is new regarding Power Automate desktops, some enhancements that we're announcing today as part of the general availability. So we are adding some new real-time monitoring capabilities in Power Automate desktop. So how you can monitor the health of your process, what's running, what's not running, what's queued, etc. We have introduced some priority queuing in the process. So basically you can classify some process based on priority, which is important, which is more important to run first or second, etc. We have some better analytics out of the box and error reporting at your disposal. And also we have introduced some quite nice sharing capabilities. So basically you can share your process with other colleagues and based on roles-based features. And this again enhances collaboration with teams. And about Process Advisor, a few things about this process mining capability that we introduced in public preview. What you can basically do, you can leverage, you can capture and record your tasks through again an intuitive no-code interface. You can gain deeper insights through analytics, and with this activity you can break down and drill inside your complex process in order to get better understanding of the components of its process. And also, last but not least, very, very important, you can share and collaborate. You can share the process with colleagues and collaborate with them. And again, through all of this nurturing activity, you have the ability to prioritize and make some decisions on which processes are best candidates to go for automation. So super, super exciting news. And we think that this will be, let's say, we'll have much ahead in front of us to drive automation. So over to you, Tony, again.
Fantastic. That is such good news. And Power Automate Desktop being available now, acquired in July, preview in September, GA in December. That's just lightning fast. And Process Advisor, I know from working to streamline processes with law firms across the country, at least 60% to 70% of the work is process capture and documentation. And often you're not actually getting the actual process, you're getting what it should be, or you're getting everything that doesn't work about it. It's hard to get the actual process. So the only way to do that, the best way to do that, is to record, and the process recorder in Process Advisor. I played it a little bit today. I wanted to do a video about it, but the team wouldn't let me because it was different to yesterday. But I'm going to do a video on it and I will post it tomorrow on LinkedIn. So pricing, let's go through pricing. I'm going to go through the public list prices. And now this is going to be different depending on your enterprise agreement. I'm not going to spend too long on pricing, that it's all online, but I will have some scenarios for you. All the pricing you see is going to be in AUD, in Australian dollars. As they appear on the website, it's fully transparent, all available online, and super competitive compared to everybody else. Happy to arrange a call. Just call me if you'd like to chat through your particular scenario. So first for RPA, so you saw earlier when I did the demo, you had those connectors with premium next to them. If you want to use those premium connectors, you need the first license, the per user plan. That allows you for unlimited flows and all of those premium connectors, and that's $21 per month. If you want that plus Power Automate Desktop, then it's $55 a month, and that's a per user license for Flow. You can license flows for the whole organization, so you could build a fancy invoicing processing automation and then let everybody in the firm use it by licensing per flow. That's a minimum of 5 flows per month, $686 for 5 flows, and then for you can add flows on top for $100 on top per flow. In terms of AI Builder, so that's done in units. Now, to give you an idea of the units, 1,000 reads of an invoice page is 1 unit. So 1 unit is 686. The unattended RPA add-on, so this is to have a VM sat in the corner, just doing things unattended without a human's involvement. That's 206 per bot per month. It also includes service credits for AI Builder, so you can use AI Builder when you've got that unattended RPA as well. And finally, Power Virtual Agents, that's just less than 1,400 a month. Now, the way that's licensed is per session, so you get 2,000 sessions for 1,373, and a session is an example of what we saw earlier. That was 1 session. So the chat, that's 1 session. It's not per chat, it's per session. And you can have up to 1,000 bots. So you could have a bot per person. You generally could have a bot per person. Maybe we will at some point. If you want to, there's a calculator down at the bottom there. I'll post this in the LinkedIn group to link to that. But look, it makes a lot more sense when you think about scenarios. And if you and I were to have a coffee, by the way, if you're in Sydney or Melbourne, I'm in Melbourne next week actually. Love to grab a coffee. Just send me an email. We'll grab a coffee sometime. But if we were having a coffee, back of the napkin calculations is what we'd go through. So IT systems check. It takes 1 team member 40 minutes to remote connect to the servers, do the checks that they need to, and they've got to do that 360 days a year. So they have 5 days off where they don't need to do that, but all the other times they need to do it. And they've estimated it costs about $60 every time they do it, including overtime, all that stuff. So that comes out to 261,000 a year. To 21,000 a year. 1 unattended bot and 1 developer license is $5,000 a year. Invoice processing, 2 team in the finance team, 4 hours a day, $38 an hour for 260 days, just the working days of the year. That's 79,000 a year. For 2 bots, 24/7, no holiday pay, no sick pay, any of that stuff. An AI 2 units a month, so that's 2,000 invoices read by AI and data extracted from it. A flow for the whole organization and 3 developer licenses is less than half of that price. So it's really compelling. It's driving a lot of change, and there's a lot of interest in the platform. Look, all the features, all the pricing, all the capabilities, it's happening. 2021 is set to be the year automation really takes off. We're at a crossroads. We're at a new dawn. It feels like something big is happening, right? And automation is a really complex subject, and the media tries to make it really simple and put it into this arc that's bad. Job losses, robots taking jobs, robots coming to a workplace, all of that stuff. And if you bought into that and listened to that, listen to their stories, you'd think we're heading to a dystopian future like Mad Max, but I see it differently. I have a sense of hope for the future. I think that we're heading towards a future more like Star Trek, where, think of Starfleet Academy, people doing what's in their flow and nothing more. And we've been through industrial revolutions before, profound changes to the workplace, from fields to factories, from factories to offices, from offices to, I don't know the answer where to next, Mad Max or Star Trek or somewhere in between, but it's up to all of us. It's up to us to where we go. And I do have hope, and I've got some evidence for that hope. This is from that same report that I opened the session with. It's from a Future Jobs report earlier this year. And they partner with Coursera. Coursera is an online training platform that teaches specific skills to mainly people in work, people in corporates. And the top in focus skills in 2019 were these. Now, Coursera has 76 million users, so this data is good data. These are the top skills in 2019. In 2020, these are the top skills: writing, strategy, Python programming, but then things that got in there now this year: mindfulness, meditation, gratitude, kindness. I think we let bots do all the rubbish work and we get on with stuff like this. And that's our call to action. We're almost there. That's the 3 aims of today done. We have 1 or 2 more things. But first, what I want to do is thank Nikos for his presentation and to all the team at Microsoft for their support. Gab in the background has been doing excellent producing. Thank you so much. And thank you for my team for putting together the demo content. Now, you're either going to be curious, or you've seen enough and you're done, or you're dying to talk to us. If you're curious or dying to talk to us, stick around for 3 more minutes. If you've seen enough, thank you for joining, and we'll catch you next time. Keep an eye on the LinkedIn group for all of the updates. If you're curious, I've partnered with a company called Novum Learning. They're a professional services learning company, and they offer micro courses in various topics. And I'm writing one that's power and automation. It's a primer. These are the topics on that. I'm going to post a link to it in the LinkedIn group after this, and you can go in there and check it out. It's on special offer. It's only a few bucks anyway, but it's on special offer for the next 24, 48 hours, something like that. If you want to talk to us, then we've got this process called a discovery call. And for me to explain it, I just want to put it into context in a few minutes, just to put it in context where it fits into everything else. So the way that automation tends to land in companies is with a proof of concept. And then what happens is you start realizing returns with other processes, mainly in those quadrants that I mentioned earlier, and you expand the automation out. Then after a time, it's about embedding it in with a center of excellence. Now we are building products and services across this whole life cycle, but I want to focus on our framework for proof of concepts. Proof of concept framework here starts with the discovery call. It's 20 minutes. We limit who we work with. We can't work with everyone. We've got a small team. We need to make sure it's the right fit. So we'll assess that fit on this call. We'll talk about your use case or use cases that you're thinking about. And there's also Microsoft programs where they can offer funding for eligible companies. So if you would like to call, that's where discovery fits in. After discovery, if all's good, we go to strategy session. That's a workshop. We build your priority matrix, like you saw earlier, and we really work out why you're doing a proof of concept. Then we build the proof of concept with build and evaluate. We build it in proof of concept. We knowledge transfer into your team. And then the evaluation phase, we build you a slide deck so you can internally sell the RPA inside your organization. And then we build a release plan. So because we built something of value in that top quadrant, let's build a release plan for how you get it into production and get value out of that work. Now, this pricing you see here, it's limited time only. We're a small team at the moment. We're growing rapidly early next year, and we'll have more costs. So our prices will go up accordingly with that cost overhead. If you want to book in, I will post in a link to this, which allows you to book in a call for that 20-minute discovery call. And yeah, I'll post that in the LinkedIn group straight after this. Keep an eye on the LinkedIn group. Hopefully that's quite active with all the posts that I'm putting in there from the content throughout this session. And that's a wrap. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time in attending. And I hope you got a lot out of that. Feedback, do send feedback. You know exactly what's going to happen if you send feedback. Put feedback in the title. And thank you so much, and see you next time.
Thanks very much, all.
Are we still live? No, that's it. Oh, no, we're live.